Welcome to the Great Loop Aboard the Perch. I'm Kim Russo, the director of AGLCA, and this is leg 72 of our Great Loop adventure. Today we're going from Paducah, Kentucky to Green Turtle Bay, and that is in the Grand Rivers, Kentucky area. And you can see our overall track for the day, and there's two routes actually to get from Paducah to Grand Rivers. So we took the one that you can see goes a little bit to the north. That takes us a little bit further on the Ohio River, and we turn off onto the Cumberland River, which puts us through the Barkley Lock into Lake Barkley. The other option is to take the Tennessee River, and that puts you through the Kentucky Lock into Kentucky Lake. The Kentucky Lock route generally has more commercial traffic, and because of that, there can be some significant delays at the Kentucky Lock. So many loopers choose to do a few extra miles and go onto the Cumberland to Lake Barkley. And then there's a canal that brings you back over to Kentucky Lake, which is part of the Tennessee River, to continue the route. As we left the Paducah Transient Facility, you get your first look at Paducah from the water and the wall that goes around Paducah to help with flooding. These Google Earth pictures were actually taken while this was in flood stage, so that's why it looks a little odd. You can see the water, particularly on the left side of the picture, extends a lot further. So this gives you a good idea of how wide and how different the river looks during flood stage. Right here on the Google Earth view, it kind of stitches in a different, a picture taken at a different time when there wasn't a flood. So just an interesting dichotomy there of the flood stage versus non-flood stage. We just made that turn to the right, which takes us off of the Ohio River onto the Cumberland. If you were to continue on the Cumberland, it would take you to Nashville and beyond. Nashville is a popular side trip for loopers, particularly right now where the Southwest Florida area that many loopers head to for the winter is affected by Hurricane Ian, and therefore really not an option to hang out for the winter. So nobody's in a really big hurry to head that way, so there's a lot of riverside trips happening, which is a great opportunity for loopers to explore some of these towns and cities that they otherwise often would not make it to. So we are taking the Cumberland River only to the Barkley Lock and stopping in the Grand Rivers area, where we will then eventually head through the canal that'll take us back to the Tennessee River. But again, this is the typically less commercial traffic and therefore less delays at the lock. So we're continuing on the Cumberland River. Just a beautiful day to be out there on the river. It is fall and a lovely time to be seeing the trees and all of the river bends, and just a beautiful day to be out cruising. But as we headed for the lock, under a bridge there, and headed for the Barkley Lock, we knew we'd be waiting a bit in the Barkley Lock. We had passed a few loopers on the way. Again, the perch is kind of designed to go fast, and if we try to go too slow, we end up, it's harder to control the boat. So we just went at our comfortable speed, which is generally between 8 and 10 knots, usually closer to 10, and knew we'd be waiting a little bit at the lock for some other boats to come in. So the lockmaster did let us in after a short wait outside. We secured and just kind of waited for some other looper boats to come on in and tie up. Once we were locked through, we exited the lock, and as you're heading for Green Turtle Bay Marina in Grand Rivers, you actually kind of have to cut the turn a little bit wide. So you'll see our path takes us way out and then circles back into Green Turtle Bay. And we've got some video. We tied up to the fuel dock, refueled, and then got secured in our slip. Green Turtle Bay is they've got a spa on site, so it's kind of a nice respite for a little while. There is also, you can walk into town in Grand Rivers, and there's some shops, as you can see here, and then the famous Patty's 1880s settlement is here. They are well known for their pork chops at the restaurant, but there's just a lot to see here. That's a little chapel they use for weddings. There is a petting zoo, so we saw some beautiful animals. The goats were really kind of a lot of fun. You can just spend the afternoon kind of exploring. Like I said, a lot to see and do there at Patty's. We did a whiskey tasting. There were several loopers there doing that with us. And then a group of, I think it was 14 or 16, dined at Patty's. That's their famous flower pot bread. I don't know how I missed getting a picture of the pork chops, but I did. But a few in our party did have the pork chops, and they are well known for that. They're either 2-inch thick, or they also have a 1-inch thick version for those with lighter appetites. But that is a look at Grand Rivers, and particularly Green Turtle Bay has been a long-term AGLCA sponsor, so we thank them for that. Our Nebo log for the trip shows about 5 hours underway. We went just under 40 nautical miles and averaged about 7 knots on this trip. And we did have a lock with a weight, which is probably where the average comes in a little bit slower than we typically do. But that's a look at the overall trek. We will be back soon. Our next leg will take us through the canal. That'll take us back to Kentucky Lake. And we'll head from there to Paris Landing State Park, which is where the AGLCA Fall Rendezvous is held. We'll be back soon. Thanks for watching.